Hello, good morning. Just happens to be morning when I'm doing this. This is the fifth Sunday in Lent. Is actually the last Sunday in the ordinary Lenten time. Next week it will be Palm Sunday, the beginning of Holy Week. This is just a wonderful reading, at least from, there's so many currents flowing here. It's the resurrection of Lazarus. It would be an easy way to entitle it. Here, good. Of course, the reading is from John the Evangelist. If you read the whole thing, chapter 11, verses 1 to 45. Jesus, let's set the scene. Jesus hears that Lazarus has died. And of course, the natural tendency on his side, because he so much loves and has such a warm, close relationship with the family in Bethany, with Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, would be to run there right away and to cure him or to resurrect him immediately. But that's not in God, his Father's plan. He really needs to wait until Lazarus is 4 days in the tomb. And so when the resurrection scene occurs, it's quite dramatic. By then, of course, with the Jews, they don't do any embalming. It's immediate burial. So there's some bodily corruption has already started. And in fact, they even say that by now he is beginning to have an odor, beginning to smell from his body going, starting to corrupt. So when the he gives life back to Lazarus. It's a stunning occurrence. His closeness to that family has been engendered over the year or many years because they've been very generous to him. When he came up through Jericho on his way to Jerusalem, it was a wonderful place for him to stop, refreshing, where he could wash up, feel right at home, have a good meal, and go on his way to Jerusalem. And he was with perfect friends who believed in him, were a part of his ministry, in every way were totally united to him. That family was very dear to Jesus. Nonetheless, because it was God's plan, he has to delay. And finally, when he comes there, it's a very emotional scene. It's mentioned twice in the reading that he was perturbed. He was deeply troubled. And I think basically what it meant was he was very upset because it seemed as if he had, to the family there in Bethany, he had fallen short. He had not come running right away. But this was part of the Father's plan, because when he comes back to Jerusalem, he knows he's on his way to his suffering and death, and then his own resurrection. In the meantime here, woven throughout this, the religious significance of all this is painted, where he talks about the day, the light, walking in the light so you don't stumble, and stumble meaning sin, whereas if you are walking at night, you're going to fall. That's darkness. Walking in the day and the light is walking in God's way. Walking at night would be the earthly way or the devil's way. Jesus says right there in the early part of the gospel, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, even if he dies, will live. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. The contrast here of earthly dying and earthly living versus spiritual living and spiritual life, which is endless. Once Jesus gives life to Lazarus, it's a challenge to the Jewish authorities, who are already willing, thoroughly upset with him because so many people are following him, instead of following and paying attention to the Jewish authorities. They see Jesus as a direct challenge to their authority. He gives resurrection to Lazarus, and that's a tremendous blow to the Jewish authorities, because the power of Jesus is manifest, and the word goes around on how spectacular he is, and the Jews have no answer. So now more than ever, they're determined to kill him. It's the only way to stop, as far as they're concerned, is to stop this Jesus in his tracks and regain their authority among the Jewish people. I have said this, that they may believe that you sent me. The miracle is worked so that people will believe in the heavenly roots of Jesus. When you just look at Jesus here in this world, the people at the time, they just see a human being. But they have to look past his humanness and see his divinity. See that God is what he's all about. In the epistle reading, sort of an explanation there of a spiritual versus the against the earthly. Those who are in the flesh cannot please God. On the contrary, you are in the Spirit, if only the Spirit of God dwells in you. Living in the flesh, living in your earthliness. What is earthly is going to have an earthly end. What is spiritual will live forever. If Christ is in you, the Spirit is alive because of righteousness. Righteousness is that we're joined to God's will, and we don't belong to this world, although we're living in this world. And the very last long sentence there in the epistle reading, if the Spirit of the one who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, the one who raised Christ from the dead will give life to your mortal bodies also, through his Spirit dwelling in you, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the one we need to have giving us life day in and day out. Challenging the power of this world, which wants to always claim us for its own. The pleasures of this world, the authority of this world, which says that it is what life is all about, which is in the end death, and succumb to it. And Jesus is saying, oh, no, live in the Spirit, because the Spirit will give you something that's far beyond the life of this world. God bless you all. As we live in this challenging world and live with the Spirit, who will give us everything we need.